most industries in Africa still depend on fossil fuels and diesel generators and the likes. People are yet to understand, industries are yet to understand that there is need for them to transit from fossil fuels to clean energy generally. Most industry operators don't know that transiting to CNG can cut down a whole lot of costs, can create jobs, can help the economy grow faster. You spend less. And of course, it makes us to have a healthier environment. It is something that requires urgent action. Like we have to do it as if our lives depended on it, which to a large extent, if we want to have a very clean environment, if we want to live a healthier life, because these things reduces emission into the air. So what we're saying here now is if we really want something better than what we have now, we need to act.
Joining us today is Dr. Mohammed Usman Kaisan, an Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, with research expertise spanning renewable energy, sustainable manufacturing, and the tribological performance of bio-based lubricants. Dr. Kaisan has built a strong portfolio connecting engineering science to industrial practice. He has led pioneering studies on biodiesel modeling in compression, ignition, engines, and of course, advice on CNG adoption and energy efficiency. And of course, represented Nigeria at the Global Grand Challenges Summit in London. Hello, Dr. Kaisan.
Hello, good afternoon to you all.
Hello, Dr. Kaisan. So, I mean, let's dive straight in because I do know that you led a lot of researches. And of course, one of the researches on biodiesel blends and of course, engine performance provides key insights into renewable alternatives for industrial energy. I know that. So could you briefly explain how biodiesel compares with conventional diesel, of course, in terms of efficiency and emissions?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to be on the Suits Media once again. I can remember I was here, I think, during COVID to present an innovation on the Suits TV. Yeah, thank you. You know, biodiesel generally is fatty acid of methyl esters produced from vegetable oils and animal fats.
Okay.
They are supposed to be waste cooking oil, for instance, or oil from non-edible crops. That is the ones that we don't use them for consumption. That animals, neither animals nor humans consume them. Those oils now can be produced through what they call trans-esterification reaction to make them have similar properties with diesel, and they are combustible in diesel engine. Yeah. Comparatively, biodiesel is very similar to diesel in terms of combustibility, in terms of major properties scientifically like calorific value, flash point, coil filter, plug-in point, and all other coil flow properties, viscosity, and specific gravity. But interestingly, biodiesel can be combusted with in diesel engine with higher power output and reduced emission. And globally, if you look at United Nations, what do you call them, Sustainable Development Goals, we are talking about zero emission, reducing the emission to net zero. So biodiesel has that potentiality of reducing major emitting polluting materials into the atmosphere.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usman. And I love the way you broke it down to the understanding of everyone, because we've seen people saying they do not understand
the differences between biodiesel
and the meaning of
diesel. Yes.
But right now, with all the beautiful things you just said now, zero emission, cutting down costs and all that, we have seen that industries, many industries in Africa, they are yet to transit to using these natural fuel, clean energy we're talking about. What is actually stopping us?
Actually, in Africa, there are certain policies. Take in Nigeria, for instance, as far back as 30th of June 2007, the Federal Executive Council has signed a policy document tagged Nigerian Biofuels Policy and Incentives. You know, when you're talking about biofuels, they are majorly bio, diesel, and bioethanol. And in that document, it was stated that about 20% of biodiesel should be blended with our diesel for industrial and commercial purposes. And 10% of bioethanol should be blended with PMS. But that policy document has not been implemented up to date. We are talking of 18 years of a policy document. Until the era of now coming to, in terms of mobility or transportation, electric vehicles are even taking over internal combustion engines, but we have not fully utilized the policy document. And that policy document has set up the introduction of an agency, that is National Biofuel Research Agency, which should be established with the mandate of promoting this biofuel utilization into the national grid.
Okay.
But that agency has not seen the light of the light. Yeah. So these are some of the challenges. And you know that for most of the plantations we have across sub-Saharan Africa have the tendency of having oil in their seeds.
Yes.
Take, for instance, like the neem, like the jatropha, like the castor, like sunflower, and so many other crops. Hundreds or thousands of them we have on the African planet, that once you process them, you can get oil, and the oil can be used for biodiesel or biolubricants. But we, as a country, we are yet to harness those opportunities.
Oh, so, but doctor, it shows clearly that there's a lot of research that is going on, especially in universities, but industries don't seem to align. Why do you think it's so? Because they're not following most of what you see. Hello, doctor.
You know, ordinarily yes, are we together?
Yes, go on.
Hello?
Go on, doctor.
Yes, ordinarily, you know, we have what we call independent oil industries. These oil producing companies. The policy is supposed to be firstly implemented by the International Oil Organization, oil industries. But unfortunately, you see, people prefer to go the crude way because the crude oil is easier to process by them. Instead of now planting trees that will generate biodiesel, those trees will have another, what do you call it, environmental benefit, because the trees will be taking some elements like carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and will bringing in more oxygen. The country will be greener, and part of them will be used for biodiesel, which will also reduce the existing greenhouse gases we have in the atmosphere. But unfortunately, since there is no anybody to implement and to monitor the enforcement of those policies, it becomes a challenge. Another challenge is the issue of infrastructure. You know, if you want to have biodiesel, you need to have separate reacting processing plants, separate plants that will produce the biodiesel beside the normal refining system of an industry. So this infrastructural issue are another points of concern. And some other issue of like consideration by the government, issue of incentives. You need to incentivize the production of biodiesel. For instance, now, if the government decides to give tax holiday for anybody importing biodiesel processing equipment, you know, companies will be encouraged to go into it. Then there should be also grants for maybe micro, small, and medium-scale industries that will need to go into biodiesel production. And it's an integrated process in such a way that it starts from the farm. People have to farm the crops, and some people will uptake the seeds. Some other people will process, like agro-processing chain. You know, the value chain is long. Then some people will extract the oil. Then some people will now uptake the oil and convert it to biodiesel. And some other people will now utilize it in the compression ignition engine. So the value chain is rich, only for the government to key into it and see how it will support our renewable energy integration into the nation's economy.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor. Now, you've mentioned so many of the barriers and some of the challenges that are hindering industries from integrating the CNG and biodiesel. Now, my question is, which of these challenges can be solved quickly?
Now,
No, 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 no. And which one do you think we required long term for the government to implement or to come in?
Yes, I think some of the challenges that can be solved easily is the issue of policy. That policy document has been there. It's now only for the government to make a policy pronouncement. Once there is political will to implement, people will key into it by hook or crook. And then the issue of incentives is something that today a presidential pronouncement can generate thousands of tons of biodiesel from all localities. Just a statement from the president, just the way our dear president, His Excellency, pronounced the establishment of PICNG, Presidential Initiative of Compressed Natural Gas, and that compressed natural gas has now come to stay. The same political will and pronouncement from the government will now make the policy implementable, and then the incentives attached to it. For instance, any micro or small industry that wants to process, these are the supports from the government. People are looking for what to do. We have so many graduates that even have talent. People with chemistry, industrial chemistry, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering background that are willing to go into this kind of businesses. But maybe they are graduates without job. Maybe with little package, like the UN program that government did before, like the issue of this NAPEP, this poverty alleviation and other expansion startup grants. All these are quick initiatives that government can bring in. The long-term initiative is to engage big-time industries, that is large-scale industries, who will have an all-integrated process whereby they will have the farm, plant the possible oil-producing trees, and now set up the processing lines and up to the final stage of biodiesel production. Then the implementation policy on each diesel that will be sold in our filling station must have 20% blend of biodiesel as enshrined in the National Biodiesel Policy and Incentive Document. I think these ones can be long-term plans, sir.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I'm seeing the way you explain these things, and I'm even looking at the value chain that it creates, because employment is sure in all these stages, and it's maybe we are not talking about it enough, but thank God we're having that conversation here. How about we look at the other alternatives? Because of course we talked about diesel and you've explained it better. Explain CNG to us, because look, the truth is CNG is now almost everywhere, the knowledge of it, but still the use is very minimal. Can you explain why it is a better alternative so more people can use it?
Yes, with the coming up of the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas, the committee or the initiative has done a lot from January last year, to the best of my knowledge, to December now that we are in. Just within this 2025, they have imported and shared a lot of conversion kits that you can retrofit in your vehicle, and you can use, we're operating on dual mode, petrol and CNG together, without anyone having harm on the other. And the CNG is cheaper and it's cleaner. And CNG refers to what? Compressed natural gas. We have different types of combustible gases, and they are all in abundance in our country. We have liquefied natural gas, that is LNG. We have liquefied petroleum gas, that is the normal cooking gas. Then this one is compressed instead of liquefaction. The liquefied, you turn it to liquid and store it in a liquid form. But this one is compressed under a very high pressure. That is why the populace were crying about the issue of safety. And I want to assure you that the kind of cylinder that the PICNG imports into the country with the Alliance of Standards Organization of Nigeria to ensure standardization and precision, those cylinders are even bulletproof materials because the thickness of the wall is very high. Engineers will understand what we mean by thick wall cylinders. These are something that cannot easily be penetrated even by a fired ammunition because of the thickness. They weigh up to 50 kg per cylinder. That is about the minimum. So they are very, very safe. In fact, we had a case of a vehicle we converted in Abuja that was faced with an accident through the trunk, that is the boot.
Yes.
If you see how damaged the boot was, you'll be surprised. But the CNG kits, cylinder and bracket were safely fixed, and it was full of gas, and nothing happened.
No, but that was
So
it.
that gas is not that easily So yes, I wish I had known of this question earlier. I would have provided the picture of
it. Yes.
So you see, yes. So that gas is very combustible, but it's not too inflammable as people think that it can easily catch fire. But the major issue we have is we compress it up to 200 units of pressure. And when we want to use it, we release about 1 unit or 1.6 to 2 units for use. That is why we have a reducer that reduces pressure in the vehicle when we retrofit. So the major challenge is the pressure, or if it bursts, it's going to cause a lot of damages, but that has been taken care of safely by introduction of a very thick wall cylinder and a very robust pipe that we use in transferring during refilling and during the operation of the vehicle.
Yes.
So CNG is one of the cleanest vehicles. Recently, one of my students has just concluded a research on a project comparing the emissions of the petrol and CNG in three-wheelers and four-wheeler vehicles. This is the person was just awarded his degree, about to convocate January next year, but his degree has just been awarded last month. Yeah, so I want to assure you that in terms of emission, the CNG is second to none. That is what the doctors call nulli secundus, based on Greek. That is second to none. Because it reduces the emission to the barest minimum. Very clean combustion, and it's cheaper and affordable. The only challenge we have with CNG now is the issue of availability of refilling plants all across the country. Because if you have it, sometimes you pass through some major cities, but you may not have a place to refill the CNG. Although the PICNG has imported recently mobile refilling units, and I believe they have shared some to some major dealers, but they are still yet to get license to operate from the NMDPRA. This is also one of the challenges too. Government agencies taking very longer time than necessary to grant licenses to operate such facilities.
Yes.
So
all right, thank you very much,
Doctor. I will say for now, but if other questions arise, I will also come.
Oh yeah.
In fact, that is actually leading to my next question. Now, the thing is that we know this is that we know CNG, we know about biodiesel. Now, the question is, do you really think Africa is ready for this transition? Do you think Africa is ready for this clean energy? Do we have what it takes to really transit from the fossil fuels that we've been used to this clean energy we're talking about right now?
Yes, thank you. And you and I will always agree that Africa is more than ready when it comes to the abundance in nature of these resources.
Yeah.
The biodiesel, other renewables, be it solar, wind, and the rest, although some of them are location specific, as well as the CNG, because we have it in abundance in most of our countries. In some locations, some oil locations or oil and gas locations in the country, you will find out that the dominant material is even the gas. And Nigeria is about the 6th or 7th gas flaring country in the world, because some of the gases are flared during the refining and exploration activities, because we don't even have enough facilities to store them. But think of how we'll capture these gases. Nigeria is the largest African country. Whatever is applicable to Nigeria is applicable to most of our nations in Africa. Once Nigeria will take the lead on this, I believe, before you know it, our closest neighbors, Niger Republic, Ghana, Benin Republic, Cameroon, and the rest will take up, and it will diffuse naturally. And when it comes to the issue of biodiesel, most of the plants we have on the African continent are not even available in some other continent, except especially Asia, around India, China, and the rest. Then area of Brazil. that is Latin America. These are some of the countries that are far into biodiesel research. When you count Brazil, Nigeria, Malaysia, India, China, these are some of the leading countries because we have more than enough resources on these biomaterials. And every day we are discovering new seeds day in, day out that are oil producing. And we have arable land that we can easily cultivate. Up to now, we are not occupying close to the half of what we have in terms of land resources. I mean, in farming activities, not even the residential. So we have enough. I think of it, Nigeria has some agencies like this, those that are concerned with this desert encroachment. Ministry of Environment has agencies that are like, I want to remember, like the Great Grand Wall. They are supposed to plant trees that will serve like a shield for desertification. Why not plant economic trees like those that produce renewable oil like Jack Rofa, like neem, and they are resistant to drought, and so many things. Then have processing industries around the border areas. We have a lot. Africa is more than ready. It's just for us to have the political will to drive it. That is my major concern. And another thing is to convince the investors, because government alone cannot take care of everything. We need to set up mechanisms that will encourage the investors to put in their resources because they are profit-oriented people. There should be support from the government politically in terms of incentives, in terms of tax holidays or tax waivers, and so many other things, or expansion grants for bigger industries and startups. We need take-up grants.
So, Doctor, I know that you've done other researches. We'll be talking biodiesel, we're talking CNG, but also I need you to touch on the lubricants and how we can explore what it has, the potentials, and how it can also help manufacturing industries.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that you have idea of our lubricant researches.
We actually
lubricants are very essential. Mostly when you want to produce a lubricant, we have what we call base oil, then the additives. And most of the engine oil and other lubricant producing plants work with this. At a point in time, Nigeria has to import base oil because our refineries are down. And most of the vessels that import base oil carry thousands and millions of tons of base oil into the country. And that causes capital flight because we have weak exchange index, and we have to buy the currency of other countries to import the base oils into our country. So that alone is a challenge. And I have the opportunity of designing about 3 lube oil blending plants and secured license for them through the former DPR. One of them is one of the largest, and it even has a jetty and the rest around Riverine area in Ilokoro in Lagos. So I'm into that deeply. Then I now come back to the academia and understand that since there is challenge in the area of base oil, why not try these bio-based oils as base oil for lubricant production? And that has led us to so many researches. We have conducted research on the production of engine oil, extreme pressure gear oil, and transformer oil using bio-based oil. Even cotton flues that are used in industries to lubricate the machining production, that is the metal cutting processes. Done researches and published and to that regards. And what is happening is that cost of importation of base oil, if we go into bio-based lubricant, will clearly reduce. And these are biodegradable materials. You can easily use them also as renewable oils because they can easily biodegrade. They are not petroleum based. And they have better performance. When you use them in engine as engine oil, the efficiency, that is thermal efficiency, specific fuel consumption, and even the emission of the engine reduces also to some certain percentage. And the person that has done transformer oil, one of our candidates, has even been awarded PhD last year. Is it middle this year on that research? We work on baobab oil. The baobab is this commonly called kuka. Then zobo oil, we call it roselle oil. Two of them added to nano materials from titanium oxide, silicon oxide, and aluminum oxide added together to produce the transformer oil. You know how expensive the transformer oil is?
Yes.
That on another direction or dimension, it will take care of our power issue, power challenge too.
Yes.
So all these things are researches that are physical. We have done them and they are available. In fact, I had one of the students from Czech Republic who has recently graduated. He worked on clipper oil, this here clipper oil.
Yes.
That is used for lubricating oil. And yes, and we use neem, that is Azadirachta indica, that is neem oil. And it has another property that is antibacterial. Besides the lubricating properties, we have sterilization property too on that oil. All these things are available and we are working on them, but the only challenge now is the issue of commercialization of research. Take for instance, I led a research in 2020, 2021 with a funding from Royal Academy of Engineering UK. That research was on effluent management, that is wastewater and oil management in Nigerian oil and gas industries. From there, we are able to recover some quantity of base oil from the wastewater, separate the water and treat the water to drinking level before releasing or discharging it to the environment, so that it will not affect our aquatic
wildlife. Yes.
What do you call them? The agronomical properties, that is farming activities. Then the oil too, we recycle it. Somebody, one of the master students produced engine oil, and another person produced extreme pressure gear oil with the recycled base oil recovered from the wastewater. And we have the treatment system. We had 2 patents on the treatment system. But when we wanted to commercialize so that Nigeria will adopt it as our system, the then DPR had to set up a panel of about 12 PhDs to interview me. In fact, that was one of the most difficult interviews I had because the questions were not just encouraging. I think they were more of attacks. But I was able to survive it. But later on, they said we have to put the whole experiments using their staff, with their staff that are as...
Hello, doctor. Okay, I think we're experiencing a technical glitch there. But as he was speaking, I was wowed because from what he's saying, it solves the problem.
Yes, really.
You have to now create a bottleneck by asking questions that don't necessarily help this thing, but he survived it. Then you now brought in another leg into it by saying, okay, it's now be your own staff that will execute it. Why are we like this?
No, so the thing is, from whatever doctor has said now, I've come to understand that we do not lack the resources for this things. Like what Chuks Rogers said yesterday.
Yes.
Some of those things that we are importing, we are actually the ones causing problems for ourselves. He said something yesterday that we really don't need to take our money outside. We really don't have to send our money outside. We could invest the money in here and we will get even better results. And that's exactly what doctor is saying right now. These things that we are going out, this is what he said, even clipper, the oil, the reeds and oil.
They do it here.
They do it here. The clipper oil, it is something that can be done here. These are things we are importing. And we really don't need to import some of those things. And like he said, the commercialization of these items, of these oil, whether the biodiesel, the CNG, everything.
That's what you said back is, because...
It is better you do it at home. So when before the show, I actually did a background check on all these things. You know, you see the fats from livestock. There are some of this oil we're talking about. There are some that you have to get from plants and all that. There are things that are run. So what actually stops Africa from taking advantage from using what we already have, and let's commercialize it. If possible, even export it to the rest of the world, and that put us on a better place on the global market. If we can sell our made in Africa, we can generate our own products here. Of course, we have more than enough to serve the Africa continent from what Doctor is saying and from the kind of researches that they are carrying out.
He mentioned how it helps us to save FX, foreign exchange. Because, I mean, you won't have to spend money to import a lot of things.
Exactly.
And I'm just wild at the ripple effects that sometimes a single decision can make.
Yeah.
You did mention policy setbacks. Sometimes even when the policy exists, implementation becomes a problem. Africa has shown potentials for having things in their organic state in large quantities, right? They have done their own part as researchers in universities to say, oh, this thing that we have in large commercial quantities, we can get XYZ out of it. And yet, Africa seems to be referred to, or is still being referred to as a third world continent. Whereas, at this point, I feel like perhaps we all need to sit down and tell ourselves some home truths. Because it is sometimes until the West comes and tells us, oh, this thing has a potential here, before all of us tend to agree. Whereas, this, from what Doctor says, what we need to get us to a super powerhouse, economically, industrially, is sitting under our feet. It is staring us in the face, and we don't believe in it. We are waiting for someone else to come and tell us, oh, this thing has the potential. He just mentioned biodiesel from all what you've mentioned. He mentioned CNG gas, which by now you would have thought maybe everybody's embracing. Because even told you, look, those fears that people have, the cylinder is so tough that it's like bulletproof.
That's what
and then because I mentioned lubricants again, when he was talking about it's even wastewater, like literally we just throw it away. Master students gathered it, created other things out of it, which would help the ecosystem. And I'm wondering, this is 2025. At this point, you should have been giving people like this national honors.
Yeah.
Because they're helping you to see potentials where ordinary people will just, somebody will tell you, okay, it's their job, you expect them to do that. But by now, the kind of conversion we're having should not even be what we're having now.
Yeah.
We should have leapfrogged from 1 to 10.
We are now to a better stage. And like you said again, we Africans, we sit back, we fold our hands until we saw someone or someone comes to tell us that this thing you have is very important. And sometimes when these people come, because they know the value of what we have and we do not know how valuable that thing is, they tell you that this thing is worth nothing. So as you will export it, then they, of course, then you export it, they will refine it, and of course, what will happen? They'll bring it back to us. Yes, some recently, or okay, let's say not very recent, they told us that palm oil is not good enough, that we shouldn't be consuming our palm oil. So what happens to palm oil? Palm oil is exported, right? And when it gets there, it is refined into vegetable oil. And they bring it back to us. And some of us buy it as anointing oil and take it to church to pray on and all that. You understand?
But really, though, I do feel like Africa can do more. You have the potential to be at par with many of the Western countries or continents that people think are super houses. Because many of them, most of what got them to the point where they are, Africa is richly blessed in it.
Yes.
We have talents. I mean, from what he's even saying, the knowledge is even there. We've also said, oh, we're not educated enough. This is research that was done in Zaria.
Yeah,
Zaria,
not so far.
So, I mean, we'll thank Doctor so much. I know we wouldn't get him back, but I'm going to, as we wrap up his episode, we have established that Africa needs to start to take serious its policies, start to take serious its implementation of
they have
these
to be
things.
politically interested.
There has to be a unison between policy or research and of course the execution by manufacturing industries and people who want to invest, because the potential is there. I can't know how many times I've said potential in my stream of conversation. It is there. We just need to open our eyes to see it, and then implement it, because it will take us to heights that we didn't even imagine. Hopefully by the next 10 years, we will get there.
10 years is quite a long time, if I must say. It is something that requires urgent action. Like, we have to do it as if our lives depended on it, which to a large extent, if we want to have a very clean clean environment, if we want to live a healthier life, because these things reduce emission into the air. So what we're saying here now is, if we really want something better than what we have now, we need to act. Wastewater, we waste water every day. Fat from animals, from livestock, these are the things we're talking about. Plants, they are not things that we should go out. So I think all hands have to be on deck to achieve. Yes, it is urgent. It is really, really urgent.